Southampton Town Board to order on this 8th day of June 2023. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Cindy, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Schneiderman.
I'm here.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Here.
Councilman Mortel.
Here.
Councilman Bouvier.
Present.
Councilman Skibone.
Present.
Okay, so we're all here, we're present. And the first item today is reviewing the agenda for the June 13th meeting. This is a 1 o'clock meeting right here at Town Hall. It's also hybrid. There are a number of public hearings, a total of 8. So I'll read what they are, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to chime in here. So the first one, public hearing to consider the acquisition of lands of Shorts Pond Associates, Marcia Held, Jane Held, and Linda Held, located at 264 Geyer Road and 1160 Scuttle Hole Road in the hamlet of Bridgehampton, New York. I want to say, I think that's that property that's near the golf course that we looked at. There was a trail, and if I'm thinking of the right one.
In Bridgehampton,
In
Atlantic.
Bridgehampton, yeah, near the
North of the
near
pond.
Atlantic
Yes.
golf course, yeah. The second public hearing is consider the acquisition of development rights at 771 and part of 791 Sagaponic Main Street and part of 135 Gibson Lane, 26 and part of 60 Daniels Lane, Village of Sagaponic, amend the CPF management and stewardship plan to include the properties. That one is, I think that's the horse farm, topping horse farm on Daniels Hill Road. Beautiful piece of property. Number 3 is a public hearing for enforcement action at 1 Squires Pond Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-175-14 for unsanitary condition water supply. The fourth one is a public hearing to consider a local law amending Chapter 244, transfer of development rights certificate program to acknowledge the inclusion of sanitary flow credits. There's 3 like this. The next one, 5, is also amends Chapter 330-7, acknowledging transfer of sanitary flow credits. And the 6th one, which is the third of those, public hearing to consider local law amending 330-9 density incentive provision and acknowledge the inclusion of sanitary flow credits. The 7th hearing amends Town Code Chapter 312-62 to implement a parking by permit only pilot program at Wildwood Lake Park for weekends and federal holidays, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, and Labor Day from May 15th to September 15th for a 1-year period. And the last hearing, public hearing to amend Chapter 247, open space to allow for clustering of commercially zoned property proposed for subdivision. All right, anybody have any questions about those hearings?
No.
Let's move on to resolutions. The first one, 43425, authorizes funding for the Peconic Estuary Partnership from 2023 Community Preservation Fund water quality money. Creates capital account for water quality projects for a portion of the 2023 award. And looks like they've requested $413,700.
We had a work session on this.
Yeah.
Town Board Resolution ID 43463, authorize increase for purchase and installation of 2 Quonset huts.
That's for highway, yeah.
Town Board Resolution 43448, authorize the supervisor to execute a service agreement with CCSI. Town Board Resolution 43452, authorize the supervisor to extend a managed network agreement with CCSI.
43461, authorize the purchase and installation of steel railings from Rectofit Inc., using Suffolk County contract for welding, fabrication, repairs at the West Hampton Transfer Station. 43460, authorize the purchase of construction services from DL Concrete Corporation using the Suffolk County contract for Americans with Disabilities Act annual improvements at the West Hampton Transfer Station. I think DL is the group that's actually working outside right now.
Town Board Resolution 43535 authorizes the renewal of a Proof Point through Sourcewell contract with Software House International, SHI.
43453, authorize the supervisor and chief of police to sign an intermunicipal agreement with Suffolk County Police Department.
Town Board Resolution ID 43476, authorize the supervisor to execute a consulting contract with H2M Architects, Engineers, Land Surveying, ATAL for the wellhead treatment for iron and manganese removal at Plant Number 4 at the Hampton Bays Water District.
43447, authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Actions International, Inc. for sale of surplus equipment owned by the town. I guess that's some sort of auction house. 43501, authorize the supervisor to execute a maintenance agreement with Very Pick Inc. Solution Software. 43527, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract amendment with Nelson Pope and Voorhees LLC in connection with the preparation of supplemental generic environmental impact statement for the proposed Riverside Sewage Treatment Plant, Hamlet of Riverside.
Cindy, could I be added as a co-sponsor, please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
43562, authorize the supervisor to sign an amended consultant agreement with Michael J. Zarro to assist the Southampton Town Police Department with the Hexagon computer-aided dispatch software, niche records management software, vigilant license plate reader camera, and any other project as approved by the chief of police. Yeah, the chief actually wants to use Mike with the capital project, the expansion of the police department, and helping oversee that.
Without a financial impact.
There's no, yes, it's the same 35,000 that he's authorized. So it's no additional monies, but it's just additional responsibility. All right.
Town Board Resolution ID 43556, authorizes supervisor to sign an amendment to the cooperative agreement with Suffolk County for the Community Development Block Grant Program.
43357, authorize the supervisor to sign extended contract with MacTech Engineering and Geology PC for Damascus Road landfill site. 43539, authorize the supervisor to sign the 2023 Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreation Communities Center Community Program Grant.
Town Board Resolution ID 43548, award and authorize supervisor to sign a contract for wood wearing surface replacement of River Avenue Bridge with Delalios Coal and Stone Company Incorporated, DBA South Fork Asphalt. Town Board Resolution ID 43477, award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract for 2022 Ford F-250 Super Duty with Napede Service Body 606-ML with Otis Ford, Inc. Town Board Resolution ID 43559, award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract for mulching head for Takichu TL12R2 with Malvisi Equipment Company Incorporated. Town Board Resolution ID 43445, declare item surplus and authorize disposal of pool tables.
Oh, that's the one from the youth center?
It's actually SYS,
Two.
both SYS also.
There's two of them, there's one from the youth center and one from.
Are they any good?
SYS.
I saw you were helping assemble the new one.
The new one's nice, the old one not so much.
So what are we gonna do with the old pool table? We auction it off, or
It's
or
really,
just get rid of it?
probably just get rid of it. It's kind of hard to get rid of a pool table these days. That's why everybody wants to donate them to SYS or youth services.
All right, I guess, John, you're up.
Town Board Resolution ID 43519, recall and amend Resolution 2023-728, authorizing a contract with Easton Architects LLP for architectural engineering services for the Tupper Boathouse.
43483, 2023 notice to bidders for liquid propane gas. 43413 amends the 23 adopted budget for Highway Department to include CHIPS, Pave New York, EWR, and POP funding.
Town Board Resolution ID 43479, amend the 2023 adopted budget for Poxabaw Golf Course.
43475 amends the 23 budget for various departments. 43537, authorize adoption of the 2023 CPF pilot plan and payment of 2023 pilots.
Can I be added to that, please?
Me as well, Cindy? Sure.
Sounds like it's all of us.
Town Board Resolution ID 43186, authorized budget modification to the Community Development Block Grant Program for fiscal years 2020 and 2021.
43538, recall and amend Town Board Resolution 2023-765, authorizing expenditure from restricted account for Windsor Heart Project.
Town Board Resolution ID 43478, appoint Perry Gio to the North Sea Citizens Advisory Committee.
43457, authorize the town attorney to accept settlement from Mary Elizabeth LLC and Stratford Insurance Company for a claim for damage to dock pilings which occurred at the Shinnecock Commercial Dock on October 23rd, 2022. I guess we're getting reimbursed on this one. 43514, authorize the town to reimburse NYMER, New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal, for deductible for bodily injury and property damage claims.
Town Board Resolution ID 43466, resolution authorizing enforcement action at 1 Squires Pond Road, unsanitary condition and water supply.
And we'll have a hearing on that.
Town Board Resolution ID 43428, resolution of adoption amending Town Code Chapter 312-62 to implement a parking by permit only pilot program at Wildwood Lake Park for weekends and federal holidays, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, Labor Day, from May 15th to September 15th for a one-year period. Town Board Resolution ID 43561, dedicate park at 471 and 475 Montauk Highway, Eastport as the Andrea Spilka Memorial Park and Andrea Spilka Memorial Nature Trail.
That's in the town of Brookhaven, right?
No, it's in our town.
It's in, the park is in our town?
Yes,
Okay.
it's right on the border.
Are we gonna be doing an event there?
Yes, we'll schedule that
So what is
sometime
this?
probably in the fall.
So
is-
this just names it?
Yes, this names it and dedicates it.
Okay. But you are gonna plan something, some sort of ribbon cutting or,
Yeah,
all right,
maybe some fishing, and some trail
We can
walking.
finally get to it.
Finally get to it,
a
yeah.
remembrance of Andrea Spilka. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Town Board Resolution ID 43451, authorized waiver of Parks and Recreation Facilities use fee for the Village of East Quogue Beautification Native Plant Sale fundraiser.
Could I be added to that, Cindy? Sure.
Is that because it's a village of East Quogue? So what is the village of East Quogue?
There isn't one, that's just what they named the beautification committee when they formed it many, many years ago.
You know, it's funny, in Montauk,
It's also, we have the
They
East
have
Quogue
one too.
Village Green.
the Montauk Village Association has been out doing beautification work in Montauk for forever, but there's no village of Montauk, but they call it the MVA.
The
Montauk-
town also dedicated the East Quogue Village Green, and there's
They call it the Village Green,
the Village Green
yes.
in the hamlet of East Quogue.
That's not uncommon. The Village Green is
Yeah.
a kind of a New England.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, where are we at, 42734? Yeah. So authorized hiring of Kevin Quintero, police officer, Spanish-speaking. That I'm quite pleased about, that we're hiring off the Spanish-speaking list, a new officer. 43473, appoints Eric Flores to Automotive Mechanic 5 position in the Highway Department. 43545 appoints Kathleen Hanson to Office Assistant in the Controls Office. 43449 appoints Kelly Dwyer Kalb to Assistant Senior Citizen Center Manager position from Civil Service list. 43450 appoints Laura Pettit to Senior Citizens Program Director position from Civil Service list. So yeah, that was a provisional, it's become permanent. 43283 appoints Marilyn Ziesman to Principal Office Assistant in Land Management.
Yes.
43465 appoints Nicholas Belvedere to Maintenance Mechanic 1 position in Water District. 43335 appoints Tina Gambensky to Account Clerk position in Highway Department. 43540 attendance at National Tactical Officers Association Sniper 1 training to be held in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania from August 21st, 23 through August 25th of 23.
Town Board Resolution ID 43456, authorize town engineer to attend training.
43315 accepts resignation of Megan or May Zagarelli, legislative aide in town council. 43513 terminates employee in the finance office.
Town Board Resolution 43525. This is a notice of public hearing to amend Town Code Chapter 283 Special Events in order to enhance enforcement ability, clarify definitions, and restructure application procedures, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell.
And it goes on for quite a number of pages. So
It does.
can somebody find the end of it? Here it
Page six,
is.
hopefully page 68.
That'll be a hearing on June 27th, so, all right.
So Town Board Resolution ID 43440, notice of public hearing to amend Town Code, Chapter 312-20, to designate no parking on the center median of Maryland Boulevard, Hampton Bays, New York.
Does the
Yeah,
community
trucks
want
parked
that?
there, huh?
We'll find out.
The neighborhoods want that? I know that's kind of an
yeah.
interesting spot, where they have the road sort of splits, and you have this green area in the center, and people have been parking on it.
So it's very narrow. It's hard for any kind of delivery truck or oil truck, whatever, to make their deliveries and be able to get around it and not go over the median. So a lot of people are arguing against it, but a lot of people want it to be beautified and therefore want everybody to stay off of it. So hopefully they all come out for the public hearing.
All right, we'll
Okay.
figure it out. Hampton Bays come out to hear it? Of course they will. 43555, notice of public hearing on the acquisition of lands of Joan de Monicas located at 25 Whalers Drive, Sag Harbor, and amends the CPF management and stewardship plan to include that property. 43553, notice of public hearing on the acquisition of land of Lori Leonard, 900-98-2, 18.3 is the tax map, and amends the CPF management and stewardship plan to include that property. I want to say,
It was near the other piece we purchased,
yeah, this is up there above.
by SYS.
Yeah, above SYS, Great Hill. Yeah, I think it adjoins another piece we just acquired. What's the price on that one?
80 grand.
Hmm.
Take two.
Yeah, this is small, 80,000. Okay, I guess we're up at 43528, authorized acquisition of lands of K4K LLC located at 381 Flanders Boulevard, Flanders, and amends the CPF management and stewardship plan, include the property. This is a $20,000 acquisition of a very small strip, I think, of land, 0.2 acres.
Town Board,
Yeah, go ahead.
are you ready?
Yeah.
Town Board Resolution ID 43532, Recall and amend TVR 2023 to -703, accepting a deed of residual feed from Blair K. Gaza for property to be maintained as open space located at North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map as indicated in the resolution pursuant to Southampton Town Code, Chapter 244-4, obtaining a development rights certificate, and Chapter 247, General Municipal Law of the State of New York.
43512 accepts resignation of an animal control officer 2 in public safety, and then 43564 ratifies stipulation agreement with the CSEA. I have those in the opposite order in the thing, but that's what they are. Is there anything else? And everybody okay with everything we just read?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so Sunday, you're good to publish.
Yes.
So the next thing we have would be a presentation. They're not
I
having
think
all
they're-
in
Tell
yet.
you're here.
They're out front.
Yeah, so we can do a couple of updates.
Okay.
So, first, just a reminder, I know there's lots of traffic out there. I see in the morning, the eastbound traffic is really unbearable, and the westbound in the afternoon, so we have our presentation coming in, but we'll take this matter up in a little bit, and we'll take these guys, come on in. Okay. Is there anyone else you need, or you're all here?
We're waiting for another person
Yeah,
that's stuck in traffic.
We took two separate ways, so we made sure one of us was here
I
on
was
time.
about to talk about the traffic, because, there was an apparent fatality.
Yeah.
Yes, and
And-
it's 3 a.m., I think, and it's still supposedly, yeah.
It was three
It's open
in the
now.
morning?
Yeah,
Yes,
it
it was
happened
3
at
in the
like 3 in the morning.
Yeah, that's what they said
I
on News 12.
Oh.
I took Duneway.
I took Sunrise Highway, so,
And it's still affecting traffic?
yeah. Well, it just, when I came, I was, after exit 64, it was a dead stop, and I sat there for about a half hour, and then all of a sudden it opened up, and there was nothing there, so I don't know now if it's.
It's all open.
Yeah, if it's all
Maybe
open now.
it's-
Yeah.
I just must
Because
have
when I
got lucky.
came through, I had to go to the east,
I mean-
the
Just
westbound
keep-
side, not the
Same
eastbound.
time.
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
they
You know,
stopped that, I
it's-
guess, and
Yeah.
then they stopped everything, like you're saying, I was
Yeah.
stopped dead. at,
Problem
Yeah.
is that they could
It's
reshuffle everything
possible-
back.
Yeah, right.
That they had to
Then I
wait
saw,
for
like,
daylight
7 trooper
to
cars
do
leave,
this,
and all of a sudden, after they left,
the
like a crime
investigation.
scene.
Investigation, yeah.
Yeah, they usually have, it takes several hours to
24 was
photograph
a
everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you definitely saw like tire marks all the way, like on the street off to the side, and then there's definitely some evidence of them like doing some sort of investigation. There was paint and everything all over the
Tragic.
place, like,
Okay.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. They probably couldn't do it at night, they probably had to wait
Yeah.
till daylight.
So I had Sean, my manager, he went the scenic route, and he's stuck.
Also, he took the route that I did.
Yeah, yeah.
I just told
He's
him
a-
he's about 10 minutes away,
Yeah.
so. She said, okay, we're gonna start without you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Flanders Road was at a standstill completely.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. So I said, well, one of us is here, that's all that matters.
Yeah. I'm sure there's lots of frustrated people out there right now.
I'm sure,
Actually,
yeah.
driving out
It was
to
backed up for a
Newport,
while,
taking the
but
ferries.
You know,
you can only
somebody,
do what you could do.
it's a fatality.
Yeah,
People have to
exactly.
understand.
There's bigger things that,
I tried to go through
you know,
there,
unfortunately took precedent
and then
over
I
it, so.
stopped completely on.
They have to do their work.
Yeah,
Complete stop.
yeah,
I
completely.
Double back on the floor.
Yeah.
And God knows what happened to them and their family, and, you know, you gotta, you know, yes, this is work, and we're all a little frustrated traffic, but there's other things that are a little bit more important out in the world for other people, so.
Exactly. So do you want us, you want to get started with that?
Oh, I could start? Yeah.
Leave,
No, I
All
can
right,
totally
so
start.
let me,
Probably a good sign that they were opening something.
I'll wait for Jim and then I'll. So, thank you for coming. This is Dave Tellier, partner with Naraki Smith, and Naraki Smith are our independent auditors. And Sean will be joining us as soon as he gets here, and Dorothy Godlewski as our town controller, everybody knows. And so it's a requirement under state law that we do a yearly independent audit. And I think everybody has seen it, hopefully. It got distributed to everyone. We're going to have an overview of that presentation today. It's a tremendous amount of work. It's, 180 pages roughly?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, document. It's extremely thorough, and all the, accounting standards have to be met. And they've added more GASB standards. They keep changing them and adding more. I know Dorothy and your staff have worked very closely, Kathleen is here, with the team at Naraki Smith to get them all the information that they need. So thank you for that. And I guess, Dave, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Yeah, I have a brief presentation, like you mentioned, just to kind of give you a broad overview of the financial statements. As mentioned, they are pretty robust, so there's a lot of information in there. So we kind of just keyed in on some of the key information. We did meet with the Audit and Advisory Committee yesterday and went through it in a little bit more detail and went through that and met with them privately, discussed matters that were of importance to them and met that requirement. So again, I think did we distribute the presentation or?
No,
Okay.
I thought you were gonna do it.
Sorry, you know
It's
what?
attached to the
We have
agenda.
this.
Oh, okay, great.
So it's there.
So I'll just follow along there. Again, stop me, ask any questions. As Jay had mentioned, it is an annual requirement for the town to go through a year-end fiscal audit. However, the town of Southampton goes over and beyond what is required of them. And what I mean by that is the report that we that we assist management in putting together is a larger document than what is really required. But what we do is we submit that to the Government Finance Officers Association, which is kind of just a governing body on the government side, for their certificate of excellence program. So what that means is we provide them the financial statement. They review it. They have hundreds of metrics that it has to meet. And if it meets a certain criteria, then they will issue the award to the town, which we have received now for.
Number of years.
Yeah, a number of years.
How many?
Oh, I don't know, at least 10.
I was gonna say at least
It's
10.
10, at
I
least
think,
10.
yeah, I think we're up in the double digits now. So we anticipate that this report will meet those standards once again. So once it is finally approved, we will be sending that for that certificate. Again, mentioned just briefly that Naraki Smith was contracted to perform the audit of the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022. There's also some other ancillary reports that we were requested to prepare that are either through general municipal law or town law, which is really the financial statements for the receiver of taxes, the trustees of the freeholders and commonality. We have to perform a single audit of the federal award programs because the town receives more than $750,000 in federal funding. There's a state single audit. So there's a couple other reports as well.
The Water District.
The Water District.
Justice Court.
Justice Court, thank you. So all of those reports have, again, also been issued. The only one that will be outstanding at this moment will be the federal single audit. And that's because in previous years, the awards program that we had to look at really revolved around Section 8. But this year, due to the new funding over the last year or two relating to ARPA funding, we switched that. So we're looking at a new program, and it's more of a compliance-based audit than it is a financial-based audit. So we're looking at all of the various compliance revolving around that specific plan. So that we anticipate to be done by the end of this month, and that should be fine. I think, as Jay mentioned before, but I'll take this moment just because I think maybe the finance office doesn't always get the kudos that they deserve. But again, we had another great experience going through the audit engagement. We started the audit around March 6th, doing our field work. We were on site, and we were a combination of on-site and remote for about 4 to 6 weeks. But again, for an entity of this size, with many varying pieces of the puzzle, I've said this probably many, many times before, but this government has almost every little nuance that a government can possibly have. It's got its, obviously various major funds, non-major funds. It's got the CPF fund. It's got proprietary funds, which are separate, almost entities that are administered for the benefit of the taxpayers, which is like the beaches and marinas, things of that nature, the golf course. It's got fiduciary funds because it's got the tax receiver, it's got the justice court. So it's got all these little nuances. To be able to close the books and records in pretty much 2 months, and we had no audit adjustments, is truly outstanding. And that's really due in part to Dorothy, Kathleen, and their entire team. They really do a phenomenal effort, and just, again, kudos to them. I think it's well-deserved, and I think maybe not everybody gets to say that. So, we're here. I'd like to, obviously shine the light on them for a little bit. But again, great cooperation throughout. And as I mentioned, we don't just work with the comptrollers and the finance office. We do go around to other departments because, again, we're looking at different areas throughout the town that sometimes aren't just finance driven. Utmost cooperation from everybody. So we obviously really appreciate that, and that because we have to, for this award with the GFOA, we have to file it by June 30th. So it is a tight timetable to be able to get the audit done, get the financials drafted, get management to approve them, go through all the various meetings. So, so again, great job by everybody. Just to talk about the financial statements very briefly, our auditors' reports were all clean on modified opinions, which means that the financial statements were presented in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. The audit was conducted in accordance with U.S. generally accepted auditing standards, and that all of the applicable GASB standards have been fully implemented and are applicable to the report. Within the report, there are a couple of various financial statements. The first one is what's called the government-wide financial statements, or what we refer to as the town-wide. These are on the full accrual basis, so all of your fixed assets, all of your long-term debt, everything is represented here. It's modeled really after a for-profit company or entity. So on your town-wide statements, we had total assets in what's termed deferred outflows, which is an asset of over $1.7 billion. Of that, capital assets, net of depreciation, represents 1.3 billion of that. So that's all your capital assets, the land preservation, easements, things of that nature that have been purchased. And that number increased about $19 million from the previous year. You have total liabilities and deferred inflows of just over $540 million. So that references all of your general obligation bonds, your other post-employment benefit obligations, your proportionate share of any liabilities relating to the pension plans that the town offers. So all of that, you're around a little over $540 million, which leaves us with total net assets of about $1.2 billion, with a positive change for the year of about $97.5 million.
Which is incredible, but that's largely open space that we acquired.
Largely open space, 100%.
Because I'm just thinking, the CPF has brought in over $1 billion in the town of Southampton.
Yeah.
The actual value of that land is probably 4 or 5 times that. It's just that you're only recording what we paid for it, not
What you paid
what it
for it.
would be worth today.
Yes, it doesn't get marked up to fair value. It's based on purchase price or date of donation, if it's fair market value,
Yeah.
if they donate it. So you're 100% correct. It's, the value is grossly undervalued there. However, some of those, obviously, some of those properties have restrictions on them, so that kind of would lower it a little bit, but.
Yeah, so, right, which is true too. So once we buy them and they're in park status, it's not so easy to, if there was a terrible financial circumstance and some future town needed to liquidate something, it's a very difficult process to do that.
Correct.
Park land is highly protected.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to value those things. But
It is,
I
yeah.
understand that there is a recreational value too, that,
Mhm.
it's common land that everybody gets to share.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put a value on it, and I guess putting the value, what we paid for it, I think is probably the best way to
Yeah.
value it.
Mm-hmm.
So we also have 20% water quality that's taken out of this money. in
You
this
have the
CPF.
allowability to do that, yes.
Right,
Mhm.
and how do you account for that? And particularly, I was curious, it's a
You
kind of
don't.
an aside, the the improvements that we make underwater quality, where does that account come back to?
They
Do you know?
don't.
We don't, it's
Yeah.
only if it's a town improvement, then you account.
So if we give a,
Like if we do the Woodhull Dam or something like that, we're
But if
making
you
an
give a
improvement for
grant
the
to the
community?
village, that's not your asset.
right,
Usually
and if we
that's a
if we
grant.
give a private homeowner
Right.
money to put in a nitrogen removing sanitary system, that's not shown, that's an expenditure of the amount of money, it's not shown as a capital asset.
Yeah, because there's still, it's kind of interesting, because the question right now is who actually owns the IA systems. It's become a discussion, and particular valuation on a piece of property, does it go, the insurance is not seeing that as an increase in valuation, so it's just something to highlight for the future, because I think this is going to become an issue going forward.
Okay.
Now, it's interesting with the grant we're giving to the village for the biofilter, where we may,
For the skimmer, you mean, the big?
yeah,
Yeah.
for the algae skimmer, we may actually own that. We may structure it in a way that when they're done with it, it becomes ours. And so that.
It reverts back to you.
Then we would have to then account for that as a capital asset, even
Mhm.
though it's a grant to the village. There's a reverter perhaps of some
Okay.
sort in it, but we'd have to make you aware of that.
Right,
Yes.
because otherwise we don't account them, we
It's a
just,
very
anything that we do, we
expensive
give to
filter.
others.
So capital projects that we do in various villages goes on their rolls as
Correct,
assets.
yeah,
That's their
if,
I mean, just
if
to
you're
clarify,
giving them grants
kind of-
or monies to do it, yeah, it becomes
Okay.
their, it's money that they utilize to facilitate an asset. So the asset would be on their books, not on ours.
Okay.
So conversely, when we're doing something cooperatively with, say, the county, there's an added benefit to the county. I don't even know how that's measured or quantified, but it's kind of interesting when you have these different projects. And they're going to be becoming increasingly more complex, so just curious as to how that's going to play out, because, you're talking multi-million-dollar projects in some cases.
Rating agencies take green initiatives into
Oh, definitely,
account. So that's,
definitely.
I mean,
That's
that
where you're gonna
generally
get
and
the
That's where we
globally.
get our big
benefit of
rating,
it,
yeah.
So the
yes.
nitrogen and what we do with the villages in our town,
Mhm.
okay.
Oh, there's
Yeah,
definitely. a
that
benefit.
helps with
When
that.
we acquire an easement, is that shown, let's say we take a piece of farmland, we don't own it, we just own the right to build houses?
We do, we
Yeah.
give it to the assessor for their valuation.
So
It's usually at
we
$20,000.
have
They're
an
little amounts.
economic interest in that
Yes.
property.
Correct.
We look at each resolution and then put that on our books, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said,
So that is
intangible
reflected.
assets,
Mhm.
intangible assets.
Mhm.
Right, okay. Sure. Keep going, I'm sorry, Dave.
No, it's a great conversation. After the townwide financial statements are the governmental fund financial statements. These are on the current focus or the modified accrual basis of accounting. So these are the funds that are managed on a day-to-day basis by the comptroller's office. So you have your general fund, you have your capital projects fund, so these are these are funds that don't account for the capital assets and the long-term debt in the same way that you would on a full accrual basis. So when you're buying an asset, it's an expense. So the capital projects fund or the CPF fund, all of those purchases are just expenses. So that's where there's a reconciliation that has to be made from these funds to get to the full accrual, where we back those out and then they become assets. So on the fund level statements, and this is total, so this does include CPF, so it gets a little, kind of a little skewed, but total assets of just under $370 million, primarily consisting of cash and receivables at the end of the year. Total liability sits at under $35 million, leaving you with total fund balance of just under $335 million across all the funds. The biggest thing here, I believe, is the restricted fund balance of $281 million. That's primarily the CPF fund and the capital projects fund. You do have just under $28 million of unassigned funds, which resides in your general fund or your A fund. And then you have about $20 million of assigned fund balance, which is either monies that are attributable to next year, balancing next year's budgets, or encumbrances, or other funds where the monies are restricted or assigned specifically to that fund. For the year, you had a net increase in your fund balance of about $78 million. If you backed out the CPF fund and the capital projects fund, you actually had a decrease of about $4 million or $4.5 million. But that was primarily relating to transfers to the capital projects fund for various capital projects. So on an operational basis, you were almost a break even across all the funds if you backed out those transfers and you backed out what we consider non-operating funds, which is the capital projects and CPF. For all the funds, you had total revenues of just under 230.
Can I stop you there?
Oh,
on
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
The capital project, that includes the Hampton Bays Water District, so a lot of the major work that we're doing there are the capital projects?
Yes,
that-
yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm processing.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, any of the major projects that are going on, whether it's Hampton Bays or various things, all flow through the capital project.
Mhm.
So that's why
Doing major
that's why the
improvements there.
transfers were going into it to fund those projects for the current year.
Okay, thank you.
So on the current, for the current year, on the fund level statements, you had an increase in your fund balance again of $78 million with total revenues just under $233 million. Again, a large portion of that is the CPF revenue as well as your property taxes. And you had total expenditures of $165.3 million. And then your other financing sources of just over $10.6 million. That's where the interfund transfers back and forth to the other funds, as well as any bond issuances and refundings and things of that nature all flow through what's considered your other financing sources. For the rest of the financial statements, for the notes of the financial statements are very consistent with the previous year. The only changes this year was there was a new GASB standard that was implemented relating to leases. So the accounting changed for the way in which we recorded leases, where primarily any lease that is longer than 12 months is now recorded on the full accrual statements as an asset and a long-term liability or short and long-term liability, depending on the lease payments. Previously, those were really just note disclosures and off balance sheet, like we had a lease, these are the lease terms and this is our current obligations to that. The new lease standard has changed that methodology and really just brought it on to the balance sheet. So we enacted with the comptroller's office doing 95% of all the work, finding all the leases, inputting them into the program. We were able to implement that and move forward. So that's really the only change structurally to the notes, is just referencing that change. After the last thing, just kind of to end on, is again highlighting what a great job the town comptroller's office is doing, as well as just the procedures and policies here. We had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. We had no recommendations or suggestions for improvements, whether it's on the procedural side or on the policy side. We did have 3 outstanding recommendations, one of which has been fully implemented, one is in the process, and one relating to the Justice Court is still getting worked on as far as timely deposits. The one that's in process is the relating to the tax receiver's office and looking at a different accounting software program than what they're utilizing. I know they've been looking at it over the course of the last couple of years, just haven't found the right one yet, but they are looking into it.
How many years has this been now that we haven't had a single comment of how we can, I mean, it's very nice. I think it's terrific that there's, of course, there's always room for improvement, but there's nothing that you were able to identify.
There is, yeah. There's, like you said, there's always room for improvement in certain regards when we're coming and looking at the audit level.
This is sort of like the gold standard, though, the town of Southampton. Right?
It is. You've done very, very well. I know back years ago when we first started, it wasn't that case, but everybody that between the town board and the comptroller's office worked very hard and diligently over the years to get it to this point, and it's
is this the 4th consecutive year, or without
4th or 5th?
or 5th
Yeah,
without
yeah.
a single recommendation?
Correct.
It's amazing. Is there any other town that is like us?
If they are, I'm not aware of them. I think.
So we're as good as it gets. That's
Yeah, I think you have a lot of positive energy and just movement for on the financial end to really be at a very, very good spot. And it's not like you have the same people sitting in the same office for 20 years. You've had a lot of turnover over the years, and most recently, obviously, at the comptroller's position, and it still has operated very, very well, and if not, and it continues to get better. So
amazing. Dorothy, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank to the whole staff, Kathleen.
That's right, Kathleen as well.
to
The
all
key
of
word was
you.
better. I
mean,
heard better there.
you know, I mean, it's.
Sorry, Len.
We really have a great team here.
do.
We do. And it's not for lack of thoroughness. I mean, you did a very, very thorough analysis. It's great to hear that all of our systems are working, all of our, checks and balances, cash custody, all the things that we sought to improve have been implemented and are working. So, Dorothy and I are going to be going to Moody's pretty soon as we do the next bond
Yes,
sale.
we're gonna be doing
and
that this year, correct?
We're going to present again. And
Okay.
it certainly doesn't hurt to have an independent audit
No,
as strong as this,
no,
so to be able to share with them.
yeah.
And of course, we're already AAA credit rating, so we can't get any high, we can't get any
You can't get any better, and I don't, there's
Hopefully-
nothing in here that could bring that down.
Right. I
You
feel
know,
the same way, and that-
Yeah,
And that means for our, when we borrow, we're getting at the best interest rates that are available.
that are possible at that time, definitely.
And right now, in an environment where interest rates have gone up, it really could matter
Mhm.
to be in such a strong fiscal position. So we'll find out. And also, we're borrowing less as well because we've been building reserves and they've been coming in. We've been using very conservative estimates for expenditures, and we've been ending up building up surpluses, unanticipated surpluses, and rather than going on a shopping spree, we go and we use that money
Correct.
to offset borrowing that we had anticipated that year, so we don't have to borrow as much, which is great for
Which
the
turns into
taxpayers.
savings,
So,
continual savings over the
yeah.
course of time.
I think our CPF debt is gone.
We don't have any.
No,
We've
it's gone.
completely
No,
paid that
Yes.
We
off.
shouldn't.
It's
And we
completely-
still
I
have
hope
a
not.
fair amount in the bank.
Yeah.
Yes, more than a fair amount.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I have a question about our policy. One of the things that this town board does, and previous town boards, we have an internal auditor. Is that something that other municipalities have?
So some of them do. You're on the larger end, so it was one of the recommendations that we had way back when because of just a lot of the turnover and a lot of things that we saw. We thought it would really benefit the town, and to the credit of the town and the town board, finding a person and setting up that seat. I think has been tremendous. Having that person in-house, and again, what's great about an internal auditor is it's not just financial. They could help out in all other aspects and divisions because they're just that type of a resource to have. And I think that that's probably one of the things that really helped turn a lot of the things around and get it going.
Right.
Having that body here, because again, I'm only here once a year. Doing the audit, we do a lot of work, but we're only here for a condensed amount of time, and then there's a good, 10-month period where we're not on site. So having someone here that can continually review things and follow up on things and speak to individuals, I think is always a big key, big key thing.
Okay.
And
Lisa
Right.
does amazing job,
Oh.
as well.
I know, you can go to her with questions.
Yeah,
She has the
yeah.
answers, or she'll get them to you quickly.
There's a lot of other municipalities that could really use someone of that nature that don't have that, and you could see the difference.
Yeah, I like the idea of the internal
Mhm.
audits being overseen by external audits.
Yeah.
So,
Tommy John sits on as liaison to the Audit Advisory Committee and participates in that.
good committee.
And I certainly appreciate all the work that they do too with
Yes.
you. On the last Zoom meeting, I raised just two concerns, because I know that the town's fiscal health is very, very strong. There's just no question about it. But the two things that I identify is the CPF program has significant financial resources, and we continue to acquire land and historic buildings and things like that. And it means, though, that we have to maintain these properties, and there's severe limitations on the CPF program in terms of how that money can be spent. And so our Parks Department ends up with more work, and then we have to hire more people in the Parks Department. And stewarding the amount of properties that we have, has a financial impact that's growing. And unless we're able to redefine the CPF program a little bit to allow those monies to be used to manage those CPF properties, particularly the historic buildings, which it costs money just to maintain them, to keep the lights on, to, have somebody there. So, I'm working with Assemblyman Thiel, but I believe that has to happen, or there's gonna start to be impacts on the non-CPF side, the property tax side, that relate to managing the CPF side.
Makes sense.
So, and when you have parks, you need to provide bathrooms at the, comfort stations for
Yes.
people. Benches for people to sit at, water fountains for people, there's expenses. And if CPF can't do that, it's very hard for us to manage all these parks. So that's one thing. The other pressure I see growing is, it's related to inflation, but it's more related to cost of living, and in this area. And our difficulties we're having recruiting people, particularly administrative personnel, but personnel in general, because of, the inability for them to live in the community and the growing commute time to get here. So we've already shortened the work week by a little bit to help with that. But that is creating wage pressure. And, the contract that we negotiated, we did a baseline adjustment. And we also did a higher percentage than we normally do. And, knowing that, there's the state tax cap. There's the, contractual raises that are built in. And knowing that the cost of staffing for the town is probably, more than half the budget. It's a significant cost to the town to keep property taxes where they are. It becomes more and more challenging. And look, we can raise property taxes. We can raise property taxes. We also have this freeze in place too, that we're not touching assessments, but we are capturing new construction. And new construction still is strong. We're seeing a lot of new construction. So I think short-term, we're in good shape. I'm only here till the end of the year. But I think as I look forward, if we're able to utilize the CPF fund to offset the cost of managing CPF properties, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be able to keep taxes in check and within the cap for an extended period of time. If we don't get that ability, I think that there may come a time where we may have to pierce the cap. And some of it is post-pandemic, and we did during the pandemic, a lot more people came out. And so we had more people more of the time. And the technologies, like the Zoom technology we're using to allow people to participate at these meetings, are also allowing people to work from home. And so they're here more of the time, and we have so many great recreational opportunities. It's a great place to be if you can afford to do it. But that does create, more demand for town services, for picking up the garbage, or providing police or ambulance, whatever it might be. So we're one of the few areas really, that saw an increase in population in the last census adjustment. Other areas are going down, we're not.
Yeah. But it makes a lot of sense.
So I'm just saying all these things, I'm happy everything is perfect. That is great, but I do, want to have a sobering view of things too, and always stay ahead of the curve. If I see things that could have impacts later on, if we're able to see it coming and make adjustments now, I think it's really important. So, like if we have to adjust within the cap, we do. So, to anticipate future
Yeah.
expenditures.
I'd like to add a qualifier. You mentioned new construction. I'm assuming you would also include the rebuilds that we're seeing in Southampton Town. A lot of, yeah, they're buying
Most of
homes,
the construction
taking the
is
house
tear
off.
down. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
most of it.
It's amazing.
Most of it is tear down.
Right.
But the small house that gets torn down and the bigger house,
It's essentially new construction.
the assessment changes,
Mm-hmm.
right? They don't get the same assessment as that old house. Now, if they took a property that was worth $500,000 and they turned it into property worth $3 million, that's how it gets assessed. And, you know, it's a significant increase in value. And so that growth in the tax base is helping us. We still, the levy, there is a factor in the cap calculation for
The new construction.
that. So we're, you know, basically limited to 2% increase in the amount that we collect in property taxes. But it's slightly higher than that because
Because of
there is a
the-
factor
growth
for new
difference.
But it says
construction.
there's a 1-year lag, I think, in the adjustment for the new construction.
So we do get some flexibility there. And we haven't pierced the cap. I've never pierced the cap, but it can happen. And it's tough. It's a cumulative cap. It's not just us. So if the ambulances go up, which they are, because they're hiring more people, because they're not able to cover everything with volunteers, that takes away some of our cap flexibility because they're included in our cap. So we've been fortunate so far, and you know our reserves are extremely healthy. They continue to grow, and that does give us some flexibility to stay within the cap. However, using reserves is a one shot,
Yeah, it's only, it only helps for a little bit.
and you know it might get you through a few years but then you're going to find yourself short. So that is not
Usually it
good fiscal policy.
And then usually it'll compound even worse too. If you start utilizing it for a couple of years, then when you can't use it,
Well, we've been
it's 5
using
times
some
worse.
reserves,
And then you have
but
no
when we
choices.
reconcile in April.
Exactly, I mean, we always.
After we reconcile, it turns
Correct.
out that even though we've applied reserves into our budget model,
We didn't really
we
have to.
still
Yeah,
end up with
yeah.
more reserves at the end of the day than we
Because
have.
we do conservative budgeting, you
Yeah.
know, so.
Is there any other financial questions? Yeah. Anything?
Yeah.
Well, thank you
I asked
for
them.
your work
Thank you.
once again.
Thank you.
Um,
I'm waiting for somebody to walk through the door right now.
He probably didn't want to interrupt because I'm assuming he's here, but he just didn't want to
It's
walk
like 10
in the
minutes
middle.
away.
Yeah, walk in the middle of it.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Of course.
Good work, and thanks, and congratulations
all-
to you guys.
All at the comptroller's office, really, so.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Support.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dorothy.
It's always nice to hear good news. Particularly financial good news.
He was out in the hallway.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kept saying that he was going back and forth.
All right, so just some updates before we go into the executive session. They're working outdoors. I don't know if you saw that. They're the Windsor, the Edie Windsor Memorial is being created, this marriage platform. The pavers arrived from the company that cut them out, and everything is on target for Monday, June 26th, the 10th anniversary of the Windsor decision that legalized same-sex marriage. And of course, you know, Edie was a resident of this community, although part-time, but for 40 years, and really made her mark. There's a nice story in Newsday the other day about her. It looks like it's all coming together. The contractor is there. I saw Nick and Tom Houghton out front, and it's getting exciting. It's getting exciting. So make sure you hold your calendar at noon on June 26th. Somebody recently bought a heart. People continue to buy hearts every day, but we can't get them anymore into the memorial. But Andy Cohen, if you know him from TV, he's bought a heart. I think his may have made it in time to get there. So, let's see, June 10th, 5:30, there's going to be an event celebrating the official opening of the Nathaniel Rogers House. So the town has spent years painstakingly putting this home back together out in Bridgehampton. The Nathaniel Rogers House, it's sort of near Almonds on the other corner, across from Topping Rose House. It's a very important historic building, and everybody is welcome to attend. We did win an award, a state award for historic restoration of that property. And it's finally opening to the public as a museum, so it's pretty exciting. Again, Saturday, June 10th at 5:30. Also, Saturday at 8 p.m. is the annual Candlelight Vigil at Good Ground Park. I mean, we have been doing these on Mother's Day or close to Mother's Day. This year, it's going to be this Saturday, June 10th at 8 p.m. So this is to remember those we've lost to addiction. And we're also including the pandemic on this one, too. This was started as sort of a way to try to heal the community a little bit and to bring people together so that they would understand that they're loved and that there are resources available, not just for healing when you lose a loved one, but for those who are suffering with addiction, that we can help. And there are counselors and services and communities out there that specialize in this, and you're not alone. And these have been really very moving, these candlelight vigils. And people often tell stories at these about, a brother or sister or child or parent that somebody lost and how they struggled and what a beautiful soul they were. And people have said they really have never had a chance to talk about that. Because sometimes when people die of an overdose or something, it can be shrouded in secrecy or maybe initially, and then people come out and they really, addiction is a disease, it's an illness. But there is treatment. There is lots of people who care. And, if you get a chance to come, there's usually some music, there's usually some prayers. And it's just a nice way to sort of rededicate ourselves to our work to try to prevent another beautiful life from being lost to an overdose. All right, so that's 8 p.m. at Good Ground Park. We have Battle of the Bands, right? You're going to talk about that?
Yep.
Yeah. It seems like this is an awful lot of events that are happening. I don't know of any closures right now because of the air quality situation. If somebody does, let me know.
Schools had closed, had canceled after-school activities yesterday. I don't think they did today, though.
Okay. I mean,
Little leagues.
it was worse yesterday, I think, than today.
Yesterday, there was actually ash falling.
I had to go up island yesterday. I was up in Huntington area. It was really bad. And it just got progressively worse as you got closer to New York. I think here we've seen the worst of it. I think it's going to get better. That's my guess. These are enormous.
They're saying after today, we'll have one more
bad day.
pretty heavy bad day, but then it's supposed to clear up, at least that's the last
So,
forecast.
I will confer with Ryan Murphy in Public Safety. I mean, if we have to do closures or advise people not to be outdoors, we will, but I think we're okay. The masks, the N95 masks, are good for filtering out this particulate. So, it's a good recommendation if you're outside is to wear the mask. Now, these are enormous forest fires out in Ottawa, Canada. I mean, millions of acres, I believe, are on fire. This was sort of predicted as a part of global warming. You know, it's sort of a reminder that we need to move away from fossil fuels, that we need to do everything we can to, you know, move to electric vehicles and wind power and solar power and, you know, support those industries with the infrastructure that they need. So I'll look to see what other updates I have, but why don't you guys,
Yeah, so on that note, yesterday, I did confer with Ryan Murphy, because the air quality index in about 36 hours went from about 110 to over 400. I know the schools kept the children inside for recess and gym classes. We canceled our Little League activities, as did some of the other local Little Leagues. So that's my lead-in to tomorrow night, Battle of the Bands, June 9th, barring any rain or smoke. The gates will open at 7 p.m. The entertainment is 8 to just before 11. There is a $10 admission. It's a great night to get out. I mean, you could bring the whole family. The concession is open. The bands are, you know, young kids, but you know, the music's sometimes old school, sometimes up to date. They really move it around, and they do a great job. It's been fun. I've gone several years in a row, and I know the supervisor was there last year with us, and you know, it is a great night to get out. So if the weather's great and you feel like grabbing a blanket and a beach chair, come on down and enjoy it.
I was going to mention the Candlelight Vigil, which is being sponsored by the Addiction and Behavioral Health Committee, but I think, Jay, you pretty much covered that. I do want to add to the Nathaniel Rogers House, if anybody is interested, at 11 a.m., our town historian, Julie Green, will be given free guided tours of the house. And then at 12, Charlie Martyr will be giving tours of the grounds and the landscaping and the planting, so, for people that wanted more information.
Yeah, I haven't seen the plantings. He donated a lot.
A lot.
It's a lot.
do you want to mention the Bel Air Committee that we had the first meeting? Not really?
Not really.
Okay,
It's a work in progress.
okay.
We're doing our last cleanup of Trout Pond on June 17th at 8 a.m. That's in the hamlet of Noyak. It's, like, as you all know, been overrun by an invasive species called kabamba. And we've also discovered milfoil in there. It really is it's kind of a sad situation, but we're clearing out the areas where kayaks can launch and swimmers or people can go in perhaps, and fishing too. So, but it really is everywhere. Please do not dump your fish tanks into ponds. That's what happened 20 years ago, and now we're here.
Or even pour the water into the pond.
Or even the water.
Isn't there a stop day on Saturday?
Oh, there is.
Yes.
What did I say?
I heard John on the radio this morning, on WLNG.
Oh, stop day is
yeah.
this Saturday at 10 in North Sea.
We'll say what it is. We're not stopping the day. It's going to happen.
Well, stop day is it's where we collect things that normally you wouldn't be able to throw out, including latex paints, and so there's a list on our website that gives you a good, matter of fact, my Facebook page has it on there. I think many do. And it's your chance to be able to throw out things that normally you should not have, we collect that and dispose of it properly.
And it's really interesting to sit online and see what comes out of people's cars.
Yeah. And I did want to say
So
something
say
about
what STOP stands for.
stop
Stop throwing out pollutants.
pollutants. Yeah.
Stop
Thank
throwing
you.
out pollutants.
Yeah, I've been doing those ads for so long. It's yeah. Someone else is going
So
to
what
have
else
to
were
do
you,
it.
what else were you saying?
I remember Julie
Nathaniel's
doing it on
Rogers
here.
House, I was going to mention that, but we've talked about it a lot. But you know, when we first got into office, it was still in its infancy growth, but the restoration, to watch it happen, was amazing to me. You guys want to? I thought you said something.
No.
So it was just kind of interesting to see this happen. I just remember that they actually replaced a lot of the glass from the original glass source in Spain, things like that. So it's what you would call a very thorough restoration process as opposed to a recreation, down to the paint levels and things like that. So it's really something to see.
Down to the paint? Did they use lead-based paint? Like the old days? No.
Actually,
No, but I know
before
what
that, it wasn't
they-
lead. Yeah, before it was something. Anyway, it's just interesting to see, and I'm really glad to see it's finally come to fruition. I know we kept watching the price sort of do this over the years, but I think it was well worth it, and it's really representative of an historic building, true to type and true to the area, so.
Yeah, we were all there for the raising of the cupola on the top. That
Yeah.
was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Just nice to see, Dupper Boathouse is next. I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to.
anything else? We did have a swearing in of mostly promotions at the police department. We had a new detective, and new sergeant, and a new lieutenant, and a new police officer. Those were always nice. Lots of people were at that one. And there was also an event I missed, but Jackie in my office went to for, honoring black basketball coaches from the East End. It was, I think, the Bridgehampton Child Care Center. And I heard Jackie gave a really wonderful address. And, it's a real tradition on the East End. Some of these coaches have not only really taken these young individuals and brought out the best of them as human beings, but really have tremendous winning records at various levels of state competitions. But they continue to inspire our youth to not only be great athletes but be great individuals. All right, I have nothing else. Everything else is sort of in progress, so. All right, so let's look at the executive session. So we have confidential legal advice, personnel, and acquisitions to discuss in executive session. So I'll make a motion to end our work session, but go into executive session on those items.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned for all other purposes.